live transmission of the latest developments happening in the Saudi Arabian capital, Riyadh, in the first Arab-Chinese summit.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبح لله ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. له ملك السماوات والأرض يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم. صدق الله العظيم.
فخامة الرئيس شي جي بينغ رئيس جمهورية الصين الشعبية، أصحاب الجلالة والفخامة والسمو والمعالي، الحضور الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يطيب لنا أن نرحب بكم في المملكة العربية السعودية بمناسبة عقد القمة العربية الصينية الأولى الهادفة لرفع مستوى
cooperation between China and the LAS. And pleases me to extend the salutations of Royal Highness King Salman ibn Al Saud, and hoping wishes us the success of this summit, Your Excellencies, Your Royal Highness, and the historic relationship between the Arab states and China that's based on the mutual respect and friendship and cooperation in all fields, and gives great importance for the development of the well-being of their people. and we look at the growing development of the China. That will be a great opportunity for the meeting and hasten the partnership for the sickness of achieving the future for our people. Should we continue the cooperation between the Arab states and China, as well as the development, the political status in the arena? Your Royal Highness, the kingdom that works in enhancing the cooperation between the multilateral relations between the countries, and that we are realizing the size of challenges of the climate change to maintain the level of growth in the economics of the whole world, where we seeking to pursue the zero carbon status of the climate change in the field, in the framework of the Middle East green economy that enhances our joint environmental work, given the status of discrepancy of the potentials among the Therefore, the interaction of the initiatives that gives us an great approach in praising the role of the China of launching the relevant initiatives that goes in the priorities of the kingdom for enhancing the food security. The international and regional development would require efforts of all arenas and enhancing the efforts of the international community, and the kingdom will continue to exert all efforts to enhance peace and security in the region and support the peaceful solution in the framework of the international legislation and the Arab initiative that would maintain the Palestinian people to establish their independent countries in the borders of 1967, supporting the exerting effort into Indo-Yemenis solutions according to the third references, and affirming the importance of doubling the efforts to find the peaceful solution in Syria and Libya that guarantee peace and security and prosperity to these countries. To conclude, we affirm the importance of to continue the Chinese and Arab cooperation that serve the peoples and playing an effective role in the international arena, and helping the output of this summit would serve the interests appreciated in the last role in this regard. And thank you. Now I'll call on President Xi Jinping to say his speech. You have the floor, sir.
尊敬的各位同事、朋友们，大家好！感谢沙方的热情接待和周到安排，很高兴同各位同事相聚一堂，一道召开首届中阿峰会。
And the first Arab State Summit, such a summit is in a pivotal event in the history of the Arab-Chinese relations, and that steering the cooperation and relations between the Arab countries towards a beautiful future that guarantee the friendly role that is enriched in the history that met through the old Silk Road and shared the good and the bad in the pursuit of struggling for the sake of liberating the state in the framework of the economic globalization. that adheres the justice and right in a very variable world, that showed the spirit of friendship between the Arab states and China in equality, mutual interest, inclusion, as well as mutual beneficiary. The solidarity and binding is distinguished features between China and Arab states, that they all trust each other and binding within a brotherly feelings, and that exchanging and a solid support of the pivotal issues for each part. And we are united, move forward in pursuit to achieving the aspirations of the nation's renaissance. And we are supporting in the spirit of the one team in the battle of confronting the COVID-19, that the strategic and Arab-Chinese relation based on the mutual cooperation and comprehensive development is long-lasted, and the equality as well as the mutual interest is in a momentum of the friendship between China and Arab states. Such a cooperation is a role model for the cooperation between the South and South, where the 17th cooperation mechanism were being built in the framework of the Arab-Chinese Forum. And during the past 10 years, the size of trade investments between the Arab countries has exceeded $300 billion with an increase of 1.5, and the direct exportation has reached between the two sides $27 billion with an increase of 2.6 as double, and more than 200 projects being executed in the framework of cooperation and building the road and the build that gain the benefits throughout 2 billion people. The inclusion and mutual benefits are the values of the Arab states and China, that to exchange the two civilizations and recording the admiring and in very historical terms of the exchanged learning and inspiring the wisdom of such a civilization, and spreading the real wisdom of the civilization, which is the paying concern of the peace and a call of synergy and the binding of conventions and pursuing the right and defending loyalty in the framework of evoking the conflict of civilization. And we call together between the civilizations, the dialogue among the civilization, and evoking the civilized diversity of all over the world. My dear colleagues and friends, in the time, currently the whole world has entered a new phase of disturbance and diversions, and the Middle East has witnessed a very new changes that made the desire of the Arab patients, the Arab people, an urgent need for peace and security, as well as equality and justice. In this context, for the both sides to consider as strategic partners to inherit and develop the spirit of the Chinese and Arab friendship, and building a joint future between China and the Arab states that would gain of more benefits for the peoples of two sides and contribute in the issue of humanity development. We should bind in the independence and maintains the mutual interest, supporting the efforts of Arab nations to explore the development paths that go in line with their national circumstances, and to control their future, their entities in their hand. The Chinese side is pursuing the mutual trust between the Arab people and exchanging the solid support in their pursuit in maintaining the sovereignty of their countries and territories, as well as the national dignity for both sides to hold together on the principles of the non-interference of the internal affairs and to defend the rights and the legitimate rights of the developing countries. And we should be focusing on the economic development and in fostering the cooperation based on mutual gain. And it is a necessity of enforcing the equality of the national strategy and building the road in a high quality. It is necessary to develop the traditional cooperation in the field of economy, trade, energy and infrastructure and others, as well as strengthen the pillars of the escalating growth, such as the green development, zero carbon, and the health and finance, and open new horizons in the fields of all space and the digital economy and the peaceful use of the nuclear energy. And effective dealing with the great challenges such as the energy and food security. China is keen to work with the Arab side to execute an initiative of the global development and supporting the cooperation between South and South to achieve the sustainable development. We should maintain the peace in the region and execute the joint and mutual security. The Chinese side is supporting the Arab side in finding political solutions of the burning and thorny issues by the Arab wisdom and building a joint infrastructure that is sustainable in the Middle East. And we are urging the international community to respect the peoples of the Middle East as considered the leaders of the region and give a positive energy that serve the peace and security in the Middle East. China is welcoming the Arab participation in the global security initiative that is fully prepared to continue using the Chinese wisdom to achieve peace and security in the Middle East. We should enhance the civilized exchange and increasing the mutual understanding. It is necessary to expand it is necessary to exchange the individual exchange and expertise in wisdom and administration. It is necessary to reject the Islamophobia in a mutual understanding and doing cooperation in rejecting the extremism and terrorism or different in races or discrimination in races. It is necessary to enrich the mutually human values that are featured in democracy, equally and liberty, and laying out a role model in communication and the mutual beneficiary in civilizations in the new and modern era. We've seen that being agreed in this summit to work by all means to build the Arab-Chinese society towards the brightened future and laying out a great lines of comprehensive plans between China and the Arab states in developing the relations between China and the Arab states as a first step to build the Arab-Chinese community for the future and laying out great plans between China and the Arab states. China is keen to work with the Arab side to execute the 8 joint works through the next 5 to 8 years that cover all the following 8 mechanisms in development, food security, health, green development, innovation, and energy security, dialogue between civilization to empower the youth, peace and security. The Chinese, the Arab side had benefited of the pivotal works of the 8 mechanism. Both sides will be working together to execute as soon as possible, as well as gaining a very early output. Dear friends and colleagues, China is paying a great concern of peace in the Middle East and support the moral consciousness of humanity that is at stake, that cannot, the historical unfair cannot be continued, that the Palestinian people are suffering, and we do not accept the compromise of the legitimate rights, and we are looking forward of establishing an independent state that irrevocable, that the international community should abide with the principles of the Lancet for the peace and exerting the excessive effort in supporting the peace initiative and increasing the development and human aid in pursue the just and peaceful solution of the Palestinian cause. China is welcoming of the latest development achieved by the Arab mediations for achieving the Palestinian rights. I would like to reaffirm that China is solidly supported in the establishing of the independent Palestinian state of full sovereignty on the borders of 1967 and its eastern Jerusalem, its capital, and supporting the full membership of Palestine in the United Nations, and to continue providing the human assistance for the Palestinian side and supporting to executing the living project, and by increasing donations for the UNRWA in Palestine in the Far East. Dear friends and colleagues, the Communist Chinese Party has held the 20th National Conference successfully, where it is plans being laid out to support and the great support for throughout the modernizing the Chinese model by laying out the aggressive plans in developing China. China would commit to maintain the peace in the world and enhancing the mutual development and supporting the future for humanity, and abide solidly of a peaceful and independent foreign policy and defending the international justice and peace, and abiding to cooperate with all the world based on the 5 principles of peaceful coherence, and would adhere the strategy of opening based on mutual interest and support the high-level opponents of the participation of the Belt and the Road in a high level that provide a great opportunity for all countries, including the Arab nations, through the new development in China. My dear respectful friends and colleagues, the great cause starts by a dream to be executed by the tangible work and action to establish and enriching the spirit of the Arab-Chinese friendship and work united in building the Arab-Chinese community for the new future, for in the new modern era, and creating more brightful futures for the relations between the Arab state and China. Thank you. I thank His Excellency Mr. Xi Jinping for his speech, and now I call on His Excellency the First Minister Ayman Abdurrahman in Algeria to say his speech. You have the floor. In the name of Allah, the most merciful and most passionate, Your Excellency, Your Royal Highness, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed Salman bin Abdulaziz, Your Excellency Xi Jinping, the President of China, Your Excellency the Secretary General of the League of Arab States, it is pleases me to convene today in Riyadh, and I would like to extend great thanks for His JRH, the custodian of the Holy Mosques, and His Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz, and the friendly Saudi people for the good hospitality since so we've arrived in this country. It pleases me to extend the greetings to the President Abdel Tebboune, the President of the Lansing, the summit, and wishes him all the success, considers a new step in the past week of building a strategic partnership between China and the Arab states. Your Excellencies, Your Royal Highnesses, our convening today is reminding us to remember this very historical relationship and between the Arab states and China throughout 2,000 years, through the Silk Road, and our modern history is witnessing to continue such an historical heritage through the cooperation stations between the two parties, where China is supporting the Palestinian cause as well as liberty movement, and in the return, all Arab countries continue to support one China principle. Therefore, our convening today is a repeated date to continue the cooperation between the two sides that witnesses a great leap where the investment and the trade rates witnesses unprecedented figures that became the seventh trade partners of China and the first exporters of the raw oil, by forming or by creating a comprehensive framework for supporting the Chinese initiative of the Belt and the Road that affirm our support, relying in development program in infrastructure and energy that creates a bond between us for our trade exchanges and a vast horizon for our direct investment. I would like also to hail the support of China in Arab countries in confronting the COVID-19 in a very great model that are not separate of the trade and economic dimensions. On bilateral relation, Algeria and China is having a strategic relations where China was the first non-Arab state to acknowledge the temporary government in the 30s and sharing the mutual interest issues and supporting the solid support of all mutual interest for both sides. That crowned such a cooperation by signing and establishing a strategic relation in the 1914 and acknowledged that the fifth plan of 2026 and agreed earlier by convening this summit on the executive plan of a joint building of the Belt and the Road Initiative joined by Algeria, as well as the third tripartite plan in enhancing the fruitful cooperation between the Arab nation and China. Your Excellencies, Your Royal Highness, in the line of the polarizations witnessed by the whole world, enhancing such a strategic relation would create multilateral, polarized world a way of imagining. Whereas I would like to praise the joint situation towards the Palestinian cause that require in enhancing all sides to find a lasting and just solution, where Said Tebboune, the President of Algeria, in the Arab Summit by establishing a galaxy of supporting the Palestinian cause by requesting an exceptional General Assembly of granting Palestine the permanent membership in the United Nations. We're calling upon China to support such an orientation. To conclude, I would like to reiterate the thanks of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, helping the enhancing the development of cooperation of such a summit in serving peace and development and security and fulfill the aspiration of the people. And I wish the all success, and I would like to thank you for good listening, and peace be upon you all. I thank Mr. Ayman Abdurrahman for his speech. Now I call upon to Mr. Ahmed Abulghait, the Secretary General of the LAS, Your Royal Highness Mohammed Salman bin Al Saud, the Crown Prince of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Mr. Premier, and Your Excellency President Xi Jinping, the President of China, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It pleases me to extend full gratitude to the Holy custodian of the Holy Mosques, King Salman bin Al Saud, and his HRH, Mohammed Salman bin Saud, the Crown Prince, for the good hospitality. All thanks for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia by the provision all potentials to have this summit successful. And also extended thanks for China for their keenness to succeed the Chinese and Arab states cooperation. That is considered a crown on a long path of success made by the Arab Cooperation Forum established in 2004 in Cairo, where the Arab and Chinese relation got and gained in a very distinguished relationship that became one of the principles to be submitted in the agenda of the LAS, where the LAS is affirming the keenness of is fostering the relationship between Arab states and China in all arenas, whereas they are the best relations, but the exerted effort collectively, as we are doing now, to stake in the relations between the two sides in a deepened and longing relations, and it's not limited by economy and trade, but they are solid of the human gathering of two systems that are deep in the history, where there are a great admirement of the historical and civilized extension and both of them extended and their fervent desire to extend into the pillars of cooperation in all arenas of humanity, where the cooperation, exchange in cooperation and support in confronting the COVID-19 is a very distinguished model to the solid relations between the two sides, where are pursued to exchange all the expertise in the medical experiences that mitigate the pandemic of the COVID-19, that are based off the joint principles, where we supported the longing support of China in the Palestinian cause, on top of which is establishing an independent Palestinian state on the 96 or the 67 borders, in light of the absence of any horizons of political steps that would be alarming, that wouldn't be in the interests of stability in the Middle East. We are looking forward for the effort in China in pushing to launch a peaceful process that put an end of such an occupation, and also look forward of the Palestinian pursuing in gaining a full membership of the United Nations. I would like to indicate on very special features, which is the first one is the climate change that would require a share or a partnership of gaining the responsibility without neglecting the rights of the undeveloped countries, and pursue the potentials in gaining the green energy, and also the non-proliferation nuclear weapons in the Arab region. So in light of the pursuit of Iran of the determination of not let their nuclear facilities that are subject for inspection, and to join the non-proliferation convention. Your Excellencies, the cooperation between the Arab states and China would generate potential that are unlimited and empower the youth in the Arab region, and the development plan would change the future. And it is notably to hail the pioneer initiative proposed by the China's president, such as the initiative of the Road and the Belt, that is creating a great opportunity of enhancing the cooperation between the developing countries. To conclude, I would like to extend once again a great thanks and appreciation of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for their hosting such a first of a kind summit. Wishing you all the best of luck, and would excuse Your Royal Highness that would require the next speeches not to exceed 5 minutes. Thank you.